had done that
Wait a
yet.
minute. Are we recording now?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Halloween. Sour.
Okay, friends, neighbors, robots of the future. It's time for Bingo is Life. The podcast joined by the two lovely and fruity Howdy Show brothers over here.
My hand smells like lime.
That's what you said. We won't repeat what was said after that prior to Mike hitting the record button.
That's what I do.
Mike had a show, Chris had a show,
Yes.
the one and only, to my right, the one and only Dan Easley.
When you say functional alcoholic, what I hear is functional.
Okay.
Dan puts the fun in functional.
We'll be going to our 12-step meeting right after that with the hardest working gal in
That's
show
not
business.
true.
The
It's
hard-
not true. I've had so many breaks, dude.
The
It's
hardest.
great.
the
I'm
hard-
part-time now. The part-timest working gal
Oh,
in show business.
I didn't even get to finish it.
I knew
I
what
thought
you
you
were
were talking
gonna
about the 12-step meeting.
No, no.
It's Mum Shackles.
Thanks. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to fact check as we go. Live fact checking.
Live fact checking.
saw-
Good luck with that.
I went to a two-step meeting. It's Cajun band playing. It was great.
Order the beer, drink the beer. Step 3. We don't think that far ahead.
Happy Halloween week.
Yeah.
And good to have you back, Jay Zer.
Yes,
Yeah.
welcome back.
Well, you have. Well, maybe you better withhold that judgment until the end of the show.
No.
It's fair.
I'm heading down. I'm heading down the hill.
Today was a fun bingo for Halloween.
It was Halloweengo.
Halloweengo.
Yeah, we celebrated
Sure.
Caleb
Halloween.
Stine's birthday
That's right. Caleb Stine was here.
and his family
Family, including baby.
and baby.
It was a little Steinlet.
Yes, it's very cute.
Is it a Spectator Birdlet?
Yes.
Yes, a Spectator Birdlet.
Wait, what's his relationship?
Hasn't
Does he has a
fledged yet.
marital relationship with a spectator bird?
I believe
Yes.
they're married.
They're married.
Yes.
And they've at least reproduced.
That's
Yes.
correct.
He's not talking about bestiality. That's not what we're talking about. No, we're talking about a
No.
dynamic
That would
sister
be-
duo
Yes.
of a band called Spectator Bird.
Yes.
One of which is they're both lovely ladies.
Yes.
One is in a possible marital relationship
Yes.
with Caleb Stine.
Yeah.
You know, we're live fact checking, so we don't know. We're just gonna keep that a question.
I did listen to their a lot of their CD on the Spotify after you sent it to me.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
It's very good.
It's not anything that I could cover because it's more
'Cause
specific to young women.
oh, gotcha. Right.
Circling back to our earlier conversation, which has been stricken from the record.
Spectator Bird does have an album out that's relatively new. And I can't
That's the
think
one
of-
I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
that
hold
one.
on.
This is the new
I'm
one.
going to look it up.
And it's
really
got
good.
it's got your name in it.
It does. They name checked me.
They did.
In
why I
a
feel-
song?
yeah,
they
in
did.
the song. Yeah.
And a song.
They
Oh,
did.
Yeah.
that's why he likes that album so much. Did they
Well, it's
mention-
one of the several. It's also a good album.
What did they do?
Did they mention
just,
me?
Like during the recording, they just cut the song and they're like, "Chris Howdyshell, keep it down, sir, sir."
right.
No,
and then they started back up.
it's a beautiful song, and they mention Chris and the family band, right? Because I think it was when we did, or at least my understanding was the reference was to the Red Wing show.
Well, there's
that we did as the
you're
family
saying
band.
in the lyrics of a song,
Yes.
they mentioned Chris Howdyshell.
Yeah. Except they call you Howdy, right? In the
They
song,
did, yeah.
Howdy and the family band. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's funny. The name of the album
Just
is
run out of material, I guess.
Fall Down in a Small Town is
Yeah.
the name of the album.
That's a nice title.
And the song that I mentioned in is called What a Wonder.
What a wonder.
And they're talking about different things that they see in just being
It's good.
in
It's
Harrisonburg.
very good.
It's a very Harrisonburg song. I believe they mention the JMU kids. I mean, it's very much like walking down the street. And the way my name gets mentioned is, hey, what are you guys doing tonight? I hear the Howdy Shell family band is playing down the street.
Oh,
He
yeah,
always does that silly song where everyone
Dances in a
around.
circle. Yeah.
Hey, we can go down there and get sweaty. That sounds like fun. That's pretty much how it goes.
Wow.
And I cried.
Yeah.
I was in tears.
a hell of a
When
shout-out.
I heard it, I didn't.
I'll link the song in the notes.
Dry
The whole album.
Dry your tears.
Thank you. Well, I did. I did dry them.
He did. He dried the tears, then he went to work
That's exactly right.
like he's supposed to do.
How'd they write that song? Like, what rhymes with howdy? Dowdy, pouty, flouty.
Yeah. That's it.
Pouty.
That's all I
Rowdy.
got.
Maybe
Rowdy.
That's what, good night, folks.
Yeah.
we'll try to get Lindsay on the podcast.
Yeah, we really
She'd
do.
do it. She'd do it.
Yeah.
We do.
And
They're
Rachel.
fun. They're
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, they are fun.
Yeah.
So bingo was super fun.
It was. There was a weird thing though with a unicorn. We had a unicorn gun.
That's so sad.
Ooh.
And,
Unicorn gun. Is that for
it
killing
sounds-
unicorns?
No,
Or
it's
does it
actually-
shoot unicorns.
It's,
Are unicorns the
it's a
ammunition?
Looks a little like
unicorn-
an elephant gun, but instead of it flaring out, it
just comes to.
it's just covered in sparkles.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's purple.
It's used to propel unicorn balls
Okay. Whoa.
towards a projectile. Well, wait a minute. That didn't sound right.
No.
Yeah, no, that didn't sound right at all.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, the balls are
time to
pink.
strike that from the record.
That's right. The balls are
That
pink.
doesn't make me feel better
anyways.
at all, really.
This,
It comes out of its mouth or the other end.
yeah,
You squeeze it and it like
and it pops them out
Yeah.
its mouth.
Oh,
Yes.
it's like they have them at the dollar store. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
I've seen a flamingo gun like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one's a unicorn,
Yeah.
I was pretty excited. I found it at Five Below.
and thought that we could use it in the game. Chris gave it his all, and every person who tried to shoot the gun
Failed.
could not.
It's like misfire.
No, it was horrible.
It
The
was
game wouldn't
terrible.
shoot.
It wouldn't
the
shoot.
gun wouldn't shoot.
Oh.
So I just said, forget this, and everyone got free pizza.
Sounds like a Russian intercontinental ballistic missile.
Yeah, it was.
Is that
Yeah.
true? Do they miss? Do they not fire well?
They're notorious for not being as efficient as was advertised during the Cold War.
Gotcha.
Well, once they ran low on the supply of unicorn balls, it's really.
You know, we were going to talk about scary stuff, but now we're just talking about balls, and that's fine. It is
It
great.
is fine. It's
Because
fine.
sometimes those are scary too.
Wow, we've got some
It's like rave music.
rave
or
music
something.
going
There's
on.
rave lighting too. If they turned off the overhead work lights, this place would be.
Oh yeah.
Man.
All right.
We're at Ruby's Arcade, which is our sponsor.
Thank you, Rubies.
Yeah.
And
That's
I will throw out there, last year we got together for a Halloween episode, and we all told some stories about what we could find. Well, we told our own stories. I think we'd like to try doing that again. Is that right? Does that sound right?
Sure.
Yeah.
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 And ooh, yeah, right. And Chris, you volunteered to go first,
I'll
right?
go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. So my stories are two different stories, and
Oh no! One story per human.
they're two stories, but they're about things that you can find in Bray Branch.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're spooky things, and they're all real.
Nice.
This is everything is all real. Okay, so the deal is this: next to my house on where do we live? On Lambertown Road.
Yeah, Lambertown
There's a abandoned
It's the old
graveyard.
Howdy Show birthplace.
There's an abandoned graveyard. There used to be a church up there. The church moved. They left the graveyard. So the graves, most people couldn't afford actual gravestones. So they're actually just a series of rocks in the ground. And where they had their caskets, once the caskets rotted away, they were mostly made of wood because they didn't have much money.
Yeah.
The ground sunk like a lot.
Oh.
And so when I was younger, I would walk through and there would be these sunken areas all where the graves used to be. But here's the kicker. The kicker is the whole thing is on a bluff. So if you know what a bluff is, that's where the it just drops. Okay,
Like a hill or a cliff.
a hill or a cliff. It's a bluff. And so I imagined a moment in time in which a body part or a casket would eventually be
Stick out
sticking
of that.
out of the
Yeah.
bluff because they built the graveyard right on the bluff. Now you can go to this graveyard. It is
Yeah.
actually you're allowed to. People usually park at the bottom of the hill and they can.
You
kinda
don't have
walk
to
up.
die first. You can
don't
just
have to
visit.
You don't have to die first, but it is a genuinely Bray Branch hidden graveyard. It's kind of spooky. It's kind of interesting. Some old gravestones. There are a few. There's maybe 5 actual stones. All the rest are just rocks. So that was one of the interesting pieces growing up there.
Yeah.
But the story that I have has to do with. I believe we might have called it Devil's Hill. I don't really know. It's where we went sledding. It was a very steep hill. At the bottom of the hill, there's a little ditch. Past the ditch, there is a fence. So you kind of had to bail before the ditch.
Yeah.
I really just want to acknowledge that Thriller is playing right now. And
Yeah.
it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's loud. It's loud. as
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
ever been.
It is.
Yeah,
they hate
it
us.
is.
They hate us tonight.
Darkness out. So we were sledding, and I was probably, I'm going to say I was 12. Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably around the age I was. And there was a group of us, 2 cousins and
Really
me.
peak sledding age.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And there is a house, if you go across the street, down, I'll say 100 yards.
Yeah.
Then there's a driveway that leads to a house. And this house, the reason this house is crazy, it's a brick house, gorgeous.
Bada-bada.
2-story house. The windows were always pitch black.
Oh.
Like always. And I always thought, I'm like, also my school bus when I went to elementary school went by there. And I was always like, why is there never any light in there?
Yeah.
How come you can't ever see? Like, it's an old house. The roof's kind of falling apart. There should be some light sticking out of this house. You know?
Sure. Yeah,
Well, and so it was after we were done sledding and we were walking. We're walking down the street. We're walking back to my grandma's house, and we walked by the house. And I'm a little, I'll say a football field away from this house. Okay, and I'm like, at this point, I feel like I should be able to see some light in the windows.
It's just like where light goes to die. Like a
Yeah,
black
yeah,
hole.
yeah. And so I was like, well, I'm going to walk a little bit closer to it. And I walked a little bit closer to it. And have you ever had the feeling you should just turn away? That's where I was. I decided
Dread.
as I got near to this place, and the light never shone, and I could see on the porch there was wood. They had
like firewood or something?
no, not firewood, like construction type wood.
Oh, okay.
And I thought,
Lumber.
hey, why did these people just leave? You know, what's the? I mean, this house is gorgeous. Okay, there's something to this space. Something happened here.
They were like, that's not a retaining wall. Let's take it out. And then it was full of snakes. And they were like, peace.
Yeah, let's go build up on top of the hill instead of on the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
I don't know why they left. I don't know what the deal is with the house. But I was, like I said, I was close enough to it where I felt like I should have been able to see in the windows, and it was all pitch black. It never changed, and I just said, "This is creepy. I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not going." And I walked on, and you can see that house to this day.
It's still there.
It's still 100%
Is
there.
it still of the same nature? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to talk about a house that
no
looks
sign of
like
life,
a haunted
no
house.
sign of joy,
It is
no sign of...
2-story, freaky, some random wood on the front porch, and all the windows are absolutely black.
Okay.
There is
Wow.
there's no light.
So, Mike, I'm going to go get those batteries. We're going to record the rest of this episode there.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back. Oh, who's going next?
I did the same thing I did last year.
Oh yeah,
It's
what's
tradition.
I don't have a... Oh, well, I do have an apology.
that? Okay, great.
You also have an
A
unexpected
scary
notion.
apology.
This could be the unexpected notion. In fact.
Oh, the unexpected notion.
Do you need the intro?
Yeah, I need the intro.
All right.
Otherwise, how would I know to expect it?
Are we live now?
Sure.
Have we been live this whole time?
Yeah,
How
the whole time.
fascinating. All right. Well, it's time, everybody, for another unexpected notion with Dan Easley.
Thank you. I want to apologize for episode 83 of this podcast, wherein I told the story of how I won first place in a pig calling contest in Elkton, Virginia in 2014. I want to apologize because I had already told the story in episode 72. I will try to come up with a different story about pigs or about calling. I'm Dan Easley.
That
Very
was
good.
That
Very
was
good.
another unexpected notion with Dan Easley.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm sorry.
I asked Dan about that, a follow-up question this past week or the week before, where I said, who was judging that hog calling contest? Was it humans or pigs?
Oh, yeah.
And you said it was
yeah.
humans. And I feel like
Yeah.
the pigs would have given you a more honest answer as to who was really compelling
I
them.
worked the crowd,
Right.
but we don't need to. I'm not going to get into it again. You can go back to either episode 83 or episode
everyone's going to be
72.
doing that for sure.
Wow, yeah, everyone's doing that, right?
Yeah.
You can
Going
see
back.
pictures of Dan with his friend Sally the Sow on Facebook.
We weren't that good of friends.
Yeah, very good. All right, Jay, did you want to give us a story?
I have
Yeah, what you got?
multiple ghost stories, but I think I might have told one of them
Okay.
before. I can't remember. Did I tell the green parrot story?
That does not sound familiar.
Yes, you did.
I'll tell the Steve Speakman story.
Okay.
Yeah, do
This
it.
was I actually incorporated this into my play, The One More Less Chance Diner, but it is a true story.
Okay.
So it was back in 40 years ago, and there was a fellow named Steve Speakman who was did a lot of poetry. Maybe Dan remembers him. He was involved with poetry and music performances when the
I
little
remember poetry nights at the Little Grill. It was Sunday nights, I think.
acoustic poetry experience. I forget.
Yeah.
He was a really amazing character. Very, very dry with a very dark, cynical personality, unlike
Right.
myself. And he played the auto harp.
Ooh.
And his big goal was to write a song that would be picked up by Willie Nelson. So if you could get one song on a Willie Nelson album, you're set for life. You know. It was like,
Well, sure.
and so it was back in the day when you couldn't make demo. It was kind of sad. He does have a demo out, but it's anyway. So
Is he playing the auto harp?
what's that?
It's not the most popular of instruments these days.
No. But back then, you still had the thought that maybe Willie Nelson would hear it and hear the inner.
Yeah.
His best song was. I'm going to say something that's probably political. His best song was called Siamese Twin,
Okay.
which now sadly it would be probably radically inappropriate as a title for a song.
Okay.
And back then it wasn't. So it's kind of. I find that symbolic of everything.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what to call my cat anymore.
Anyway, so he had cancer the entire time I knew him, and
Okay.
there was some thought from the granola crowd that his really negative attitude about life and everything was just eating him up inside.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Literally.
Literally,
Yeah.
I can it's okay to say that now because he's 40 years in the ground with the worms. But
Okay.
he
Is
passed-
that's what makes it okay?
He's been in the ground so long, he's starting to poke out that blood.
So anyway, he dies. So
Yeah.
he's been dead.
Ruined the story for me already.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
He's been dead a year, and I was
Okay.
on my way back home from Wilmington, Delaware. Stopped at a gas station in Charlestown, West Virginia, and I'm doing my business at the urinal. And all of a sudden, I think to myself, what would happen if the ghost of Steve Speakman appeared right next to me and started talking to me right now?
Oh.
And so now the
Like you do.
like
Like
they do,
you
like
do.
they do. and the caveat to the story is I never actually saw like a ghost, like Casper the Friendly Ghost. But as soon as
Yeah.
I said that, I very vividly, it jumped into my imagination extremely vividly, like
Yeah.
nothing that's ever happened to me before.
Okay.
The vision of Steve Speakman standing there, and he's like, "Jay, you're summoning me back from the dead to a gas station in Charlestown, West Virginia." And I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
So, long story short.
Did you apologize? Like, I'm
I
sorry
can't
to
remember
bring
what
you back
happened.
here.
Well, what happened was this experience started to intrude into my consciousness
Okay, gotcha.
without me having any control over it, where I was the vision of Steve Speakman was appearing. I mean, it wasn't like, I knew it wasn't actually.
Wow.
He was like, well, while we're here, you want to have a pissing contest?
That would have been right down his alley. So anyway, he starts going off. He's like, Jay.
He starts going.
He starts getting onto this. He's like, Jay, I've been dead for a year and I don't have a tombstone on my grave yet.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I don't know anything about that. And he's like, isn't it just like it? Isn't it just like how things would be? They had no respect for me when I'm alive, and now I've got no tombstone on my grave. It's been a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So finally, he was buried up over there at the graveyard, the Confederate graveyard, the one on Knott Street.
The good one.
The good one.
Yeah. The nice one.
Yeah, somebody help me out here.
The
I
one
don't
on the
know.
hill.
I don't
the
know
big
name
one.
of it.
The big graveyard downtown.
The big, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The
The big
Woodlawn?
Woodlawn. Is that it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure
no,
sounds
you're
like
right.
it.
It does. That's
Yeah.
it.
So anyway, it was very. So I go find his gravesite, and it's got the little temporary marker on it. It's
Oh my God.
So I was kind of a little bit crazy back then, believe it or not. So I was like running around to everybody at the group saying, "The Steve Speakman doesn't have a gravestone yet. We gotta get a fundraiser. We gotta do this. We gotta." They're like, "Oh no, his mother's taking care of that."
Otherwise, he's going to haunt urinals everywhere.
I didn't share that part of the
Yeah,
story,
okay,
but it was
okay.
like
Probably wise.
Wait, I gotta know. Did he get one?
he does have one now. It's a very cool tombstone with like a colored glass thing in the center of it.
Oh,
The punchline being, I don't remember the resolution of that, other than that that it did stop and he eventually got a tombstone. But I don't. There's no like great punchline to that. But it was
Wow.
it's an interesting. It was I don't know. I guess that could all be coincidence, right?
yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
That's all I got, kids.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That's good.
Story. Yeah,
So
good
you,
story.
since he's got the stone, though, you've not seen him
I have
or
not seen
manifested him.
No, other
Okay.
than me putting that story in my
Gotcha.
in my play.
Except he's
Okay.
giving me a thumbs up right now.
Right now, hey,
He's
all right,
like going, yes, good.
And
I like how we all looked out the window right there. Yeah.
and the play, I took
even Dan, who can't even begin to turn and see out the window.
I don't even believe what I'm. I mean, I'm not sure I believe in us.
Dan's got to go full exorcist to look at that.
in the play, I added some poetic license where he tells the main character that he has an unfinished novel that is somewhere that he is to find and get published for him. So that's the
A little more compelling.
through line in the story, that the main character is looking for the unfinished novel.
Gotcha. Okay.
That part is not true.
It's a good story.
That is a
Okay,
good story.
I'm done.
Well,
you.
don't try the urinal cakes. They taste terrible.
I'll have to have a yeah.
Hey, speaking of cake,
Yeah.
fun fact: trick or treat. The term trick or treat
Yeah.
isn't even 100 years old.
Oh,
I just listened to a thing about trick or treating.
where's it come from?
It came from. There was a group. It was like Sears, essentially.
Oh,
Yeah, they were like, well, so
We gotta
figure out
unload
how to
this
sell
candy.
some yeah, pretty much. Well,
good.
so in like the 17th, 18th century, the tricks were so bad. Like the the tricks were
Stabbing.
no, the tricks were breaking windows, setting things on fire.
Yeah.
It was like the tricks got so bad that a group of people were like, we've got to find a way to get these kids to stop
Yeah.
destroying things on Halloween.
The mayhem.
So they started to make it a thing where we're gonna give them treats.
So they got
Appease.
together
People
with
hopped
Brock.
up on sugar and then send them out to beat stuff
I
up.
mean,
Send them home.
another
The
fun
parents deal with
fact:
them.
Sears was one of the first people to start selling Halloween costumes, and they were mostly made of paper. And infamously, a lot of them caught on fire.
Oh,
That's another weird fact.
So just
that-
Halloween costumes in general were sort of a firefighting
a fire
measure
hazard. Yeah, no, they were.
due to their hazardous.
Yeah.
Now,
nature.
I'm going to push back slightly on that. There was the tradition in the valley, and I'm going to have
Belsnickling?
Belsnickling. Thank you. That's what I
Yep.
was going to say, but I was.
There's a
wasn't-
vaccine for that now.
Yeah,
Thank God.
and the Welsh have the horse head deity that I can never pronounce. It's like 2 words.
Also interesting Halloween
Mary Lou.
traditions.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't think Belsnickling wasn't Halloween though. Was
It's like Halloween, Christmas.
Isn't that
Maybe
Christmas?
New Year, but anyway, it predates trick or treating.
I
But
get
it
them
was a
mixed
very
up.
similar concept. They had the costumes and knocking on doors and demanding cakes and things. Isn't that what it was? Did you ever
Yeah.
do it? Does anybody do that anymore?
I demand cake.
God, I haven't bell snickled in a day in ages, man.
John Heatwell?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
He still does it.
the historian.
No, he's-
well,
he's-
no,
he's deceased.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was
The
a
historian and the woodcarver from Bridgewater.
just
Yeah.
this one of our area's fascinating humans that
Yeah.
just brought joy and beauty and intelligence and
Yeah.
like a history digger upper.
Yeah.
was the
A digger-upper.
history digger-upper.
Hopefully not in the graveyard where the sunken graves are.
But he wrote
Yeah.
some collections of local
Right.
folklore and
The Burning. That was his big hit. The Burning, which was about the burning of the valley. So during the Civil War.
Oh,
So
right.
all of the stories of that oral history that people passed down. So
yeah.
he did a workshop on Belsnickling, and that's where I learned about it.
So it might have been 100 years ago, maybe at 24. It would have been going on 100 years ago, maybe more recently. I'm not sure.
Yeah. 100 years ago was only 1920. So
Right. I think it would have been going on at that
say
point.
200 maybe.
No. It
No?
happened. There's people that were alive when I was alive who were involved in it.
Oh, you mean still
Belsnickling.
but not the origin. I was thinking about when.
Oh,
did
the
it start?
origin
Right,
would
the
have
origins would have been
predated the
Old
Sears
World.
and Roebuck thing.
I mean, it
that
probably
he's
went
talking
back
about.
to the old country.
The German, the old country.
The old country.
Hey, the old country.
Are you guys talking about Busch Gardens again?
Put a link in the thing there for
Belsnickling?
Belsnickling.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
if I look that up, is it going to be okay in my Google history?
No, it's not. It definitely has a
Oh,
new
you're a
slang meaning.
Belsnickler, are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Howdy Show has a spooky story.
Oh, well, here's what. Last year when I did this, I talked about artificial intelligence. You remember the story was
yeah.
about a guy who had been working with artificial intelligence, and he was convinced that it was
Sentient.
actually sentient
Oh,
or
yeah.
aware. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I decided to delve.
He got fired
full
from
into
Google.
it. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I decided I'm going to go with it and accept our overlords. I ask our AI friends to write a story for us about us. All right.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm going to first give you the prompt.
This
this
feels
is-
like a little bit like having a
already
Spectator
scared.
Bird
This is
song
is
about
great.
you.
this
but-
is what I asked
We
it
could
to
get
do.
some AI audience and could replace ourselves
There
with
you
AI.
go. We don't even have to be here. So I said to the AI, I said, be a storyteller. Write a story that will take approximately 5 minutes for me to read out loud. I'd like it to be a spooky story that includes our group of podcasters. Dan, Jay, Mumshackle,
God.
Chris, and myself.
You told
Use-
them that we exist?
Yeah, I said use any lore from Harrisonburg, Virginia that you have access to.
Oh no!
I said the character of Jay should be self-deprecating and nervous. Mum Shackles should be the funny one.
No.
Chris and Mike are even keeled. Dan has odd, unexpected notions from time to time. So with that,
You think it's funny? I got to live inside of this.
here's the story. The quaint town of Harrisonburg, nestled amidst the rolling hills of Virginia, held secrets darker than its quaint charm. It was here in the heart of this seemingly idyllic town that a group of 5 friends, Mike, Chris, Jay, Dan, and Mumshackles, embarked on a podcasting venture. Delving into the town's hidden history and all on the oddly named podcast, Bingo is Life, the post-Bingo Harrisonburg podcast.
It's oddly named.
Their show was a hit.
Thanks, AI.
Thank you, AI. Their voices echoing through headphones, captivating listeners with tales of local legends, musicians, doers in the town, and of course, unexplained phenomena. In fact, as their popularity grew, so did the intensity of their encounters with the supernatural. One chilling night, while recording an episode in the abandoned Smith House,
Oh no, that's not good.
a notorious local landmark,
That's my office. Abandoned.
Interesting.
Not good.
a strange static filled their recording equipment. A disembodied voice, chilling and distorted, whispered through the static, "You've delved too deep."
It's the children that live in the attic of the Smith house. Oh my gosh, they're talking to us.
"Oh, great. Now we're getting haunted," Jay muttered, his voice trembling. I told you we should have stuck with true crime. "Relax, Jay," Mumshackles chuckled. This is just the beginning of our spooky adventure." "I'm not so sure about that," Chris said, his voice serious. "This feels different." "Yeah, it's like we've stumbled onto something real," Mike added. Undeterred, the group continued their investigations. Drawn by an insatiable curiosity, they ventured into the depths of Massanutten Mountain. A place.
Right next
There's
to it.
gold in them our hills.
It's interesting that you say that.
Oh.
It's a place whispered about in hushed tones, a place where the veil between worlds was said to be thin, maybe too thin. As
Gauzy.
they explored the mountain, an eerie feeling settled upon them. The air grew heavy, the temperature plummeting, and an inexplicable dread enveloped them. Suddenly, the ground beneath them gave way, plunging them into an underground cavern. Well, this is just perfect, Jay groaned. First we get haunted, now we're spelunking.
That's really good.
I want that on a cup.
Maybe there's a treasure down here, Mum Shackles joked. Lost Confederate
wait.
gold or something.
It's called treasure.
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 Okay, all right. Lost Confederate gold or something. Or maybe a monster, Dan added, his voice barely a whisper. The cavern was bathed in an unnatural blue light emanating from a monolithic structure adorned with strange symbols. As they approached, the structure hummed with an otherworldly energy, and the symbols began to glow. I'm starting to think this wasn't such a good idea, Jay said, his voice shaking. Don't be such a scaredy cat, Mum Shackles teased. This is going to be awesome for the podcast. Maybe there's a secret message hidden in the symbols, Dan mused, like a cosmic pizza recipe.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. A voice disembodied and echoing filled the cavern. You have awakened something that should have remained dormant. Oh God, it's talking, Jay whispered. I knew this was a bad idea, Chris said, his voice grim. The structure pulsed with energy and a blinding light erupted, enveloping the group. When the light subsided, they found themselves back in the Smith house, the recording equipment still static. The voice suddenly returned, its tone mocking. You cannot escape what you have unleashed. From that night on, strange occurrences plagued the group. Shadows flickered in the corners of their vision, whispers echoed in the quiet moments, and the feeling of being watched was ever present. The Bingo is Life, a post-Bingo Harrisonburg podcast, became a chilling testament to their terrifying ordeal, a haunting reminder of the darkness lurking beneath the town's peaceful facade. The story of their encounter with the unknown continues to send shivers down the spines of listeners, a cautionary tale of the price paid for delving too deep into the secrets of the past. But the story doesn't end there. As the group struggled to understand the nature of the entity they had awakened, they stumbled upon a cryptic clue. A faded duckpin from Ruby's Arcade, a long-revered establishment in the heart of Harrisonburg. Could this be the key of unraveling the mystery, or would it lead them deeper into the clutches of the unknown?
Oh my god.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you, AI, for taking us down that trip.
I have so many questions. did you include duck pins in the prompt?
I did not.
Okay, so I figured that out.
No, it did not. I helped it a little bit. There were a couple other added things I threw in there, but I just tried to keep it simple.
Well, how did my? It's interesting that I was the one character described in a negative fashion, and I became the main character in the story. I guess that's the history of literature.
That's how you work.
What did you give for the prompt for me? I was nervous.
That's not how I
self-deprecating and nervous. That's all I said.
I heard it as me being the quiet, yet sort of the leader of the group, just through sort of quiet leadership, you know.
Quiet leadership.
I don't know what. Were we listening to the same story?
It was amazing how it nailed Mumshackle in my relationship.
It really did. Yeah, you
It
guys.
was also formulaic and like Jay said something, Bum said something, Dan said something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, Jay.
I don't know.
This is going to be great for the podcast.
It used the threes, when you do storytelling.
It was good. It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was worth sharing.
We should edit this and put that in the front.
Right. Truth. Do you have one,
I
Mumshackle?
have some stuff.
Yeah,
to
what you got?
What you
mull and think about. My dad's family came from Matthias, West Virginia, Lost River, that kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to tell you stories as I remember that he told me and take out all the parts that are probably not fit to be spoken about. So so they used to live like back in the hollers, kind of not the outside of West Virginia, not deep in West Virginia, but you know, just West Virginia enough.
West Virginia was always on the right side historically, I should say.
Sure. The reason it was created, of course.
Yeah.
So anyway, his grandfather, I believe, definitely not his father, maybe great-grandfather, would ride his horse over the mountains to get from one place to another for work or for whatever he had to do. He, you know, a big long horse ride across these mountains. So he would pass by Lost River State Park. There's an old house in Lost River State Park called the Lee House, and it's been there a long time. And, you know, Civil War, I guess. I don't know. But if you go into the Smith House...
Not the Smith
that
House.
Was
Not
earlier,
the Smith House.
The Lee House.
The Lee House, yeah.
You go into the Lee House, they're still like, hey, if you look at the walls here... And it's just like, it's very bare. It's not... It's kind of a museum, but not really. It's just... It's a state park. So, you know, they just kind of restore things enough that they're standing, and then they're like, yeah, you know, sometimes squirrels come in, whatever. So it's just kind of open air sort of vibe. And so the wood is still exposed, like the beadboard inside of the front room. And they're like, so there used to be, it was kind of an inn. People would come and go, you know, like not an Airbnb, but like a B&B, like an inn, you know. But it was a house, just not very grand. But like you stayed there overnight. You were probably bunking with some other dudes, you know, maybe on a cot if you're lucky, maybe on a straw tick mattress.
Sure.
Who knows? But there were some guys that were up late one night playing cards, and it got a little out of control. Got a little stabby.
That's the way it starts.
Or gunny. So, I don't know.
Okay.
Somehow someone died.
Yeah.
There was blood, and you can still see the stains on the walls today. Which it could also be wood stain. Who knows?
Sure.
You know, like you just have an old house and people are like, well, we're bored. Let's make something up. But there are drips on the wall. That
Some campgoers spilled their Kool-Aid.
Right. Yeah. It's probably just like really strong coffee. But yeah, you can see that. And so
from a night of violent caffeination.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, whenever we went to picnics or whatever to the park as kids, like Dad would always take us in and be like, look at the blood stains on the wall.
That's
trying to freak
good.
us out. It's always an adventure to go to Lost River State Park because you have to do the things, the like dad things that you do to kids because they're dumb. You know, like take them to the there's a spring at Lost River State Park, and it's got water that's just coming out of the mountain. And you used to be able to just take a cup and have a sip of it. You can't anymore. There's a no para beber kind of sign up everywhere. But it's very strongly scented with sulfur. Very strong sulfur. So like a rotten egg. Like you walk in and it's like, whoa, who left the egg salad from their picnic out too long? This is rough. But so yeah, there's that. So you go by the spring house, you trick the kids into drinking the water, and then you go up the hill to the Lee House and you point them and you show them where all the drips are. But my dad's grandfather, I guess, the one that was riding this horse over the mountains to and fro, was also a drunk.
Oh, okay.
So he at one point went by the Lee House, saw lights on, and he went by. Ooh. That's the only bit of the story. It's a terrible story because there's no arc.
That's it.
That's it. But also, there was a night when he was riding.
But wait, there was another night.
There was another night where he was riding his horse over the mountain.
He was on his horse again.
On his horse again, this horse riding guy. And like going around the turns in the road. You know,
right.
When you're driving on a mountain road,
horse,
there are a lot of blind curves.
Yeah, sure.
And so he gets up in the mountains and it's dark and he's riding through the mountains. A mountain pass and dark, and there's a woman ahead of him, all white dress, kind of floating. And he's like, "Oh, hey, do you need any help? I am a man in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You are a lady. You probably need help. Let me see if I can help you. And she's like, and like starts running away.
Okay.
And so, kind of disappearing behind curves, and he keeps getting closer and like following this woman, and then goes around another turn, and she's gone.
Wow.
Yeah. Good story, Dad. Thanks. Thanks so much.
Wow.
So yeah, there's
The best part of that story was ABBA playing in the background.
right?
Really.
It really sets the scene. I love it.
Terrifying.
Sets
So,
it.
Yeah, so anticlimactic. That's my childhood. But
Isn't everyone's?
you can cut all this out. But so
What are we up to at this point?
how many
fine.
minutes? 5,
Yeah.
10, 20. It goes on.
I did. One of the things I heard today was after the Civil War, because like 500,000 soldiers died, and there were so many families who got just lost sons and fathers, and they were all really hoping. They didn't know what happened to them. They didn't know if they were actually dead or if they're ever going to come home. That it actually, after the Civil War, is really when ghost stories just went through the roof, because everyone really wanted to believe that their loved ones were coming back.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of ghost stories are from that period, because that is just it was
a big trauma.
It was trauma. America was straight up traumatized after that war.
I wonder if that's connected
Wow.
with the rise of spiritualism in the 19th century.
Definitely with the Mary Todd Lincoln kind of, because she was into that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they had family trauma from losing their son.
Wow.
And then she got really super kooky about it. And then Lincoln died. That was really hard on her.
Wow.
And then she got really into it.
Now,
Yeah.
wonder-
Arthur Conan Doyle was into it quite heavily as well, and he was, of course, on the other side of the pond. So,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's tied to with that Zombie by the Cranberries is playing right now in the background.
Well,
Speaking of over the pond.
I just want the last thing that I thought that was really interesting from this thing that I
Stop
listened
knocking
to.
the table, Jay. Come on.
We're talking about spiritualism.
Yeah.
though.
Whoa.
So because of it's all like a bunch of different a bunch of different areas in the world all started basically celebrate the Day of the Dead around the same time, and it's really because agriculture is because
Everything's
it's like,
dying or
did
going to
we
bed for the
did we
winter.
make enough food to last through the next 4 months? It's going to be cold. The sun's going down early.
Yeah.
It's like and so everyone, and then they're celebrating. Well, they're hoping that they don't die. It's really the
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect way to end the show. Let's hope we don't die.
I was going to go off about Civil War ghosts a little bit, but it's probably a good idea just to cut it.
I think spiritualism was a backlash against the age of enlightenment.
I'll throw
That's a whole nother can of worms.
Man, I got one more thing.
Yeah,
Go
why don't we just
ahead.
do a
All right.
two-parter?
Go
Come
for
on.
it.
All right, this is it.
No one's listening anyway. Everyone switched over to the
I-
other podcast.
The other, there's another one.
1,000% have been like feeling like a lot of people that I love that are dead. I've been feeling them more in the last, I don't know, the last couple days. There's something about this time of year. I actually have gone to the graveyard on Halloween, and I respect it. Like, I love seeing. We have a brother that didn't make it. We have a lot of family members, aunts, uncles, grandmas. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's good to remember. It's good to cry. All that stuff. I think that's that's some of my favorite Halloween traditions is kick it to the graveyard and remember
There you
people
go.
that are gone.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, it's good.
And I hope they don't come back wanting brains.
Yeah, me either.
Or just talking to you at a urinal.
Or just talking at a journal.
Is that,
Yeah,
I see you waving at me with your hand with the 17 AI fingers. Is that the end?
Let's call it.
Thanks to Ruby's Arcade and the historic Wine Brothers building in downtown Harrisonburg. And thanks to the Crimson King, Lord of the Flies, Prince of Darkness, and Saratoga, Florida, where the whole family can enjoy an exciting and relaxing stay in a coastal wonderland. Saratoga!
You're welcome, Saratoga.
Bring your toga.
Shout out to Grayson and Matt Moderno.
Yeah.
See you next time,
great.
kids.
Bingo is Life, a post-bingo Harrisonburg podcast, is brought to you by the Brothers How to Show and our friends at Ruby's Arcade, in downtown Harrisonburg, Virginia. If you've enjoyed the show and feel it's worth spreading a little joy in this world, please tell just one person that you like this podcast. Word of mouth, more than any other form of promotion, is how creative works get noticed and sustain themselves. Thank you, Andrew Hickey, for that bit of wisdom, and thank you, listeners, for being part of the fun.